All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So I'm gonna do a quick AI review here. We'll look at SoundHound, we'll look at BBAI, maybe I'll look at a couple other ones. We'll see what I do, but those are gonna be the main focus for sure right now. All right, so I am obviously gonna be talking about NVIDIA on this call. I'll obviously be talking about the NASDAQ on this call, but really what's going on right now, and I'm literally looking at my phone as I'm speaking into the microphone right now. SoundHound earnings are supposed to be coming out right now. It was supposed to be after hours. Someone I saw said it was around 5 p.m. Eastern, so maybe it's still in about 45 minutes. But yeah, it is supposed to be coming today. You can see that's what it's estimating right now. We haven't seen final numbers. It's definitely going up after hours. I don't know if that's necessarily a sign of good things. I don't know if they've dropped any sort of something. I'm literally just refreshing as I'm checking, and I still haven't seen anything. But yeah, we're pushing $10.30, basically a 12% gain as I'm saying these words, but still have not seen the earnings. All right, so that'll be a big focus here. I'll give you my assumptions for up or down. From there, BBAI, look, the thought really was it was SoundHound that got hurt from NVIDIA losing the or taking away the investment, right? Nothing really happened with BBAI, and man, BBAI had some really important military contracts. There was some good things happening. I think the DOA doing their debt reduction, and I'll talk about that shortly, like that's going to impact BBAI because in my head, look, there's also two ways you can think of that, right? Maybe the smaller company will be more aggressive and try to get the good pricing and keep the orders, right? But to me, if I was the military, I'd rather pay for Palantir than pay for Big Bear, right? Just no offense, but that's just what I'm thinking, right? So there's a couple different ways to spin it, but yeah, that was a big headline. And again, I do think that was a big part of what pushed this, let alone the SoundHound FOMO, right? From there, look, Nvidia. Listen, Nvidia earnings were good. All right, I'm actually looking at them right now. So we have an earnings headquarters in the Discord. You can see earnings per share beat. They were 89 cents instead of the expected 0.84. Their revenue beat. All right, their guidance went up. They were expecting 42.3. They said, you know what? I think we can do about zero point 0.7 better, right? And zero point 0.7 is a big number. It's not a little number, right? So their guidance goes up. They beat earnings per share. They beat revenue. I mean, margins basically there. It's yellow, but they hit it. It's not like they dropped, right? So all of this is good. Every headline I read was actually good. Um, what I always say, all right, and I think this speaks to it a lot. And there's two things I always say, but it doesn't matter what we as simple humans think, all right? Believe me, I'm an educated dude, right? I'm looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, good. I'm looking at all the headlines, I'm thinking to myself, good. What matters most is what does the market react? And the reaction I'm seeing is actually twofold. We lost all the moving averages, and look at the box over there. Okay, the low of the day was $20.01. We closed just 8 cents over that at $20.09, right? I have to zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Look how baby the little baby wick is down there, right? Like that's a bad candle. And you know me, I'm never here to overcommit up or overcommit down, right? There's still a chance it's going to recover, and I'm going to look for it tomorrow, right? But market reaction was a bad one despite the good that we saw. And again, I really hope that reiterates. But really, end of the day, I said it on my last video, right? Nvidia dictates where the market goes. Nvidia dictates where NASDAQ goes, right? And look at the NASDAQ candle. Look at that same little baby wick right there, right? So NASDAQ is actually nicely, not nicely, poorly, right? But it is very much below the 100. It is now below the golden line, and NASDAQ very much is following the reaction that NVIDIA saw, right? So this better recover tomorrow. Fridays have been better days than they used to be, right? I used to always call Friday a loser day. It's actually been a lot more green than I ever remembered. But oh man, my focus really is, especially going back to the two stocks we're talking about, is SoundHound gonna suck this thing down, Or is it gonna, is NVIDIA gonna suck SoundHound down and BBAI and the rest of it with it? Or maybe earnings will be really, really good right now, right? I still haven't seen on my phone yet. I'm not going to check just yet, but maybe there's ways they can escape, right? But I see more reason to worry. And really, I see more reason to worry less because these stocks and more because of all this surrounding around us, all right? So, before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, excuse me, little hiccup, MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel, share this video online, comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms, but for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So I'm starting to see after hours come down. That's clearly a very tight doji right now. As I continue to refresh, it looks like some stuff has since come out. I'm trying to read things and talk it out loud. I can't see. Okay, I see a decent Reuters headline. It looks like revenue is up. They've raised the full year outlook. That's actually really nice. I have not seen earnings per share numbers. Okay, earnings per share looks like it was -5. The consensus was actually -8. So that's a beat on earnings per share. That's a revenue beat. And it sounds like they are raising their guidance. That's really good. All right, all of those words said, I'm surprised we're back down into the 9s instead of going back up. They're uniquely positioned to capitalize on AI. Their existing broad portfolio of voice-enabled AI solutions was one of the quotes that I'm reading. They had a breakthrough year expanding leadership position in voice, major consumer wins, expanding partnerships. I mean, look, those are all good little sound bites. And like I said, what I actually care about was the earnings per share beat, the revenue, and the outlook increase, right? So I'm a little surprised to see the reaction not as strong as we're seeing, all right? I think twofold to that. Number one, post-market isn't always what matters, right? I know we're kind of used to good earnings, boom, 20% pop, right? Bad earnings, bam, -50% real quick, right? We've seen some crazy extremes. I think what's going on right now is actually kind of how I started the call. Look, we ended regular hours poorly. And to me, it's at least good to see that we're doing nicely compared to the candle, even just holding this right now. And obviously where it closes matters, and I'll talk about some specific numbers right now, but hey, we closed Thursday under this support line right now, right? So even just being able to close around 970 tomorrow is actually a solid positive, right? I clearly would love to get over 1020. That's basically, it's actually 1010 when you're looking at the box over there, right? But get me over the 8 moving average, and hey, there's actually a nice little red to green all the way up to 1150, which is possible, right? 1145 if you're looking in the box over there, right? What really needs to be taken into consideration is NVIDIA. And what needs to be taken into consideration is the fact that NVIDIA earnings were good. And despite that, we're seeing this candle down, right? Let me see if the Discord actually picked up SoundHound. Look at this, exactly what I said, right? Earnings per share was actually 5 cents, and it is a beat. Oh, they said the estimate was 10. That's actually double. That's a much better one. What I read was 0.8, right? But either way, revenue was a beat. That is what I saw, right? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, they're calling it yellow. I guess because there's a low range that's below it, but there's at least a high range that's above it, and maybe that's what the headline was more focused on. And I can see why they would call that a yellow, right? Maybe a little bit low, maybe a little bit high. We'll call it a maybe. But hey, it's at least decent numbers, right? Look, NVIDIA looked like it should have done better. I'm going to show it one more time. To see this candle, that's what's really driving a lot of the unknown right now I have, right? Like, I'm not here to pretend to be smarter than I am. I don't have a crystal ball. Like, technical analysis hopefully gives us a slight little advantage, but really that's all it is, right? And when I see this NVIDIA, when I see this mirroring NASDAQ, when I zoom out and see not only are we actually below that, but we're actually almost kissing the 200, right? When I look at the S&P 500, man, it's not as drastic because obviously it's not as extremely tech, but yeah, this is pretty tech heavy, and yeah, that's a bad candle under the 100, right? As we're looking at the Dow Jones, and again, Dow Jones isn't as the least of the tech of the three, right? But that's how powerful NVIDIA is. And right now, I have the three indices all below the 100. One, I would say, is significantly under the 100, right? So all that said, it's hard for me to believe in SoundHound as much as I would in any other condition. And I think what else is hard, let me just go back to NVIDIA one more time, all right? Look at the day. So Wednesday, we closed right here, all right? We closed at the green line on the top that says $131.28. On today's candle, because again, everyone saw the same good headlines, same good NVIDIA stuff. What happened? We gap up, and look in the box over there. We open all the way up here at $135. That's what's happening. That's what's happening right now on SoundHound. Everyone's reading the good headlines. Everyone is seeing what I'm seeing, what you're seeing. We're all educated people, right? Like this is good. I can imagine, just like NVIDIA, we closed down here at 9:20 this afternoon, right? Or evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, right? I love how international this place is, right? All of a sudden, this is showing me a real reason to believe that, yeah, we actually might gap up a little bit, right? Not extremely, I think, but we're gonna pop up a little bit. We're gonna open up here somewhere, but as NVIDIA showed us, there's no guarantee that that's where it's gonna end, right? So believe me, I'm going to say it one more time because I don't want you to think I'm looking at stuff and thinking bad. Believe me, when I look at the four letters alone, SOUN, and I take my little technical hat off and I put my little fundamental hat on, right? When I look at SoundHound, this is all good to me. It is literally all good to me. Earnings per share beat, check. Revenue beat, check. I think that there's a reason to think that they've raised their guidance because they're actually saying as high as 177. I'm very comfortable calling it a yellow because, yeah, they're also saying, hey, there's a good chance we'll miss by almost 10 million, right? So either way, it's good year over year numbers and visibility, right? So, man, it's believe me, any other market condition or day would be excited, would be say, hey, I really think we're coming here, right? I can't say that. Legitimately, I don't know if we're actually going to come to the 200. Because what I don't know is the NASDAQ going to come to the 200? And believe me when I say this, the NASDAQ is way more important than SoundHound. And the NASDAQ is actually more important than good SoundHound earnings. You know, I just saw that the Rocket Lab one came out. And obviously I'm not talking about this, but I said this on Twitter maybe yesterday, the day before. I haven't been feeling well, so like all the days have been mashing, right? But my worry was, even if Rocket Lab's completely smashed, I don't like that this guidance is dropped. That's going to be a little scary, actually. I don't even know what that candle looks like. But even if this was so good, my worry would be a scary NASDAQ from a scary NVIDIA just messing everything up. That's echoed on SoundHound. And believe me, I haven't even talked about BBAI. I don't know if I'm going to chapter these two together or not, but believe me, this actually has me more scared. BBAI does, because again, with SoundHound, I see good earnings. I see people liking the good earnings. There's a little bit of happiness in SoundHound. With BBAI, we're We have no earnings for a bit. We're at least waiting till what looks like the 6th, so basically this time next week. We are not gapping up. We are not going up after hours. We're actually going down a little bit. We're actually at the 50 moving average, right? And again, believe me, you know I don't care about post market that much, but the point really is NASDAQ's already below the 50. It's already below the 100. The fact that BBAI is still above the 50 is actually a lot of strength to itself. But man, I don't know if these four letters are stronger than the NASDAQ. You know what I mean? And that's a pretty big gap from the 50 all the way down to the 100, right? Obviously, we have our line there. Excuse me. I actually think this is a pretty strong line as well, but you know I respect the moving averages more than my little simple human clicks, right? So um, volume's been coming down, MACD, RSI. I didn't even talk about that on SoundHound, right? But these aren't good lower indicators. MACD is in the negative, and you can see it did its best to hold. It did its best to hold. Actually, when it dipped right after the NVIDIA moment, it quickly came back. We are significantly lower than that. Maybe I'm using the word significantly a little cavalier, right? But yeah, this is worrisome. And look at that volume, right? Volume actually hasn't been good since December. All of January, all of February, all of 2025 has basically been under the 50-day line with a couple, exceptions, right? So this is worrisome. It is, and man, with BBAI, I'm gonna go back to it. I said it in the beginning, right? There was a very clear message that the Department of Defense needs to do an 8% reduction per year every single year for the next 5 years. All right. And believe me, that was a shock when I heard it. It really was. And you've heard me say it a bunch if you watch my videos. Like, to me, the government had the deepest pockets and what seemed like endless purchase orders and endless money for public companies. All of a sudden, we got to defend our territory. All of a sudden, we might have to give them lower pricing than we were just so they keep us. And again, in my eyes, there are more reputable companies. Believe me, Lockheed Martin, right? Like Northrop, Raytheon, Boeing, all of them are trying to keep their Department of Defense contracts, right? They're not going to let some little BBAI randomness take any money from them, right? And as the reductions pile up and compound and pile up and compound, year 2, year 3, year 4, those are scary things on top of all the NASDAQ and what is it called, and NVIDIA and AI sector worry, right? So at the moment, I'm telling you, I think I'm less concerned with these individual stocks themselves and more what's broadly going on. You know what I mean? And trust me when I say, excuse me, that's pretty much echoed across any other ones, right? Like if you look at Bullfrog, basically the same thoughts, right? Like we are holding the last moving averages by, and again, that's a cluster of 3. It should be hard to lose all that sort of nonsense. Oh my goodness, if NASDAQ does not have a good day, we're gonna quickly lose that, right? When you look at what's the other one? Bullfrog. Guard Force, GFAI. Is that even another one? Nah, that one's already under it. Let's look at C3AI, right? When you look at C3AI, we're under all of them. We're coming to these old support lines. 19 could actually be a realistic possibility there, right? And again, I think to me, Palantir and BBAI, by no means do the two of them deserve to be compared. Like, I think that's really insulting to Palantir. But I think both of them are around that same place because both of them have had so much military love. Like, that's kind of what I'm seeing with the both of them, right? With Palantir, they just had good earnings and a whole mess of other stuff, right? That was the DOA announcement, and I think that's what's actually echoing across these, right? So, hopefully this was a good video. Like I said, I gave some numbers with both, but honestly, I think I'm waiting for better conditions before I go back and attack. You know what I mean? But hey, that's just me, right? There's always money to be made. So many different ways, so many different strategies for it, right? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.